childhood, growing and developing years of a person, this is meant to be a highly important time to create morals, fundamentals, and skills necessary to be a success. Instead, the trauma CPS creates in these young minds set a path of disaster, and statistics prove it. In nearly 90% of their cases, the trauma is unnecessary. Time is the one thing that can never be given back. CPS takes away moments in life that can't be replaced. The time just keeps going, doesn't mean a thing anymore. They left as children, and it's up to them when they come home if they know who you are. Each second away is time you will never get back and keep getting older.
Studies are leading towards incarceration.
Now comes the honorable judge in the halls of justice, where the Constitution will hold strong and your rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness will trample CPS for all they have done to your child.
The truth and corruption that's revealed to you is enough to make you sick. This is not America we were sold.
Children are being taken from families at the rate of 1 a minute. It needs to be stopped.
It's time to wake up and abolish CPS.
This suggests children are a precious gift from God to be valued and cared for.
In the United States, a child a minute is taken into DHS CPS and so on custody. The reality is their picks are already selected, you just don't know it. Being perfect no longer matters. It's what the adopting families are looking for.
Who is it stealing the children, you ask?
From caseworker to the White House, the buck stops at all levels, just not where it is supposed to be. The services your family needs, we the people have paid for to ensure your reunification. Title 4 says, reunify at all costs. United, we stand means nothing to us when it comes to family values. Children are being ripped away from their families. Parents are reverting to addictive behaviors to cover the pain. The trauma caused by child removal is just being recognized, and the results are atrocious. Termination of parental rights is not healthy for anyone, just profitable for the people enforcing the line.
It's time Washington listens to the cries of our children, the wails of their mothers, and the rage growing in the fathers. These are our children. Keep your damn hands off them. We are coming to act on the behalf of the children God gave us to protect, and you kidnapped.
All right, everybody, welcome to this Friday night edition of CPS Victims. I'm King Justice. I am your host, Darren Wade, CPS Punisher. Oh man, tonight's a good night. We got Connie Reguli with us tonight. I did it right, Connie? Right? Is that right? Yes, I did. All right, I did it right. Perfect. We got her tonight. So I don't really need to say much more than this. That please, people, all I ask of you is if you're going to leave information in the chats and leave comments for us. All I ask is that you please do it in a kind and courteous way. All of these people that are out here watching these shows with us and are listening to us, and however they're viewing us, whether it's Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, X, all of those things, all of these people are here for help along the way when one of the worst things that have ever happened to them is and has taken place, and that's losing your child to this system that we know as CPS. It's a terrible feeling. It leaves us all with such a feeling of worthlessness, of isolation, and the last thing that we need is some idiot watching these things thinking that they're going to be funny and leaving some sort of nasty comments towards anybody, including myself. I won't have it. I don't think that that's funny. I don't think it's great. So please, guys, be good with one another, because the only way that we're going to be together is to work together, right? Teamwork makes the dream work, and that's what we're all going towards. We're all trying to make this system go away, be something that it should be, to actually protect kids, and we all have the same goal. So please, we don't need any sort of trash talking or any sort of obscene anything for anybody. That being said, right here, right there is the chats. So, oh yeah, sorry, I didn't put those up. Right here is the chats, boom, right there. So, leave your name, tell me where you're from, any questions you guys have, we interact with you. And we do our best to get with you. So if you guys want to be involved in the conversation, please do so. That being said, let's bring out Miss Connie and see how she's doing tonight. Connie, how we doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Well, I'm all right. We had a little incident at the beginning of the week with someone leaving some nasty comments on my YouTube channel, and just that's not cool. Like, we're all trying to work together and help each other, and to have someone be disruptive and say things like that for someone that's coming out and having the energy and the galls to come out and talk about their story. They don't need to be made fun of. They don't need any of that. So I just want to make sure that like this movement doesn't need that stuff. If people are already looking at our shows and stuff, that means that they've searched for us. So they don't need people out there causing nasty, like you, for instance. You have a march coming up, or you have a walk on Washington, right? Like, you don't need anybody out there trying to burn Washington down. You don't need protesters smashing things, making negative attention. We don't need any of that stuff, right? Like, that stuff doesn't belong here in this movement.
Right. However, I kind of feel like along the way we just need to eke all of those things out because, we're humanity. And
Right.
humanity has all kinds of feelings and expressions and frustrations. And, sometimes people have said a lot of mean, terrible things about me, or they'll say,
Oh, I'm sure, right.
Connie won't help me. And I'm like, so, we just have to work through all of those things. So, they are what they are, and, bless those people, and hopefully they will come around and learn to be a support instead of an obstacle.
Right. No, that's great. That's great advice. So, hey, what's going on with you? You were not available last week, so let's get an update.
Yeah, so honestly, this is the first time I have felt a little bit of relief in a long, long time. So a lot of a lot of people know. Oh, excuse me, hang on here.
Yes, ma'am.
A lot of people know I was convicted of a felony, me and my client. I was threatened by the judge during that beginning of that case not to talk about it. And they tried to put a gag order on me, and then they tried to do another crime. They tried to put another gag order on me. They have disciplined me and put a gag order on me. So I really have had to stay fairly low key and silent about the details of that. So on March the 4th, the Court of Criminal Appeals reversed the felony conviction. Basically, it was a fake crime, just like I told everybody from the beginning. And my client, Wendy Hancock, and I have filed our federal lawsuit, and I have drafted my lawsuit. This is a work of art. It is right here. Let's see if we can focus in on
Oh,
that.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is the lawsuit. It is 77 pages long.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not 3 pages.
No, it is not. And I spent really from about March the 6th until May, so almost 2 full months working on this, writing it, rewriting it. I will tell you, it was very triggering because I had to go back. I had to read the transcripts. I had to listen to audios because this case right here does several things. So one of the things it does is it talks about who these people are and who the people are that decided to attack me and silence me.
You're bringing them right out. You're bringing them right out. You're not hiding behind anything. You're going to bring them right out to the public. Right out to the public.
Right. And then there's also a whole section in there that I call it a prefatory statement. Now, you know, a lot of lawsuits don't have a prefatory statement, but the reason I wanted it in there is because we are suing for malicious prosecution, vexatious prosecution, and we're suing both for civil rights malicious prosecution as well as a state tort civil prosecution. So I start this one section right here, let it focus in. That's called a prefatory statement, and I go through paragraph after paragraph about a lot of things that I've done as an advocate, because I became an advocate and an activist before it was cool. I started doing it in 2008 when I really just saw how much corruption there was in the family court system. And then I started going to the General Assembly. I started doing judicial accountability things. And so I have got here, let's see, how many pages is that? So the first 6 pages after I talk about who the parties are to the case is about just this history of what I've done. So let me tell the people about who the parties are in this case. When you do a civil rights action, a lot of people are like, they want to sue, they want to sue, they want to sue. But a civil rights action is very, very particular in how you do it, how you put it together. So in this case, I have named 2 district attorneys. One of them is actually dead now, but she was the one who originated the fake indictment. So 2 district attorneys, a DCS attorney, the captain of criminal investigations at Brentwood Police Department, the detective at Brentwood Police Department, and the city of Brentwood. And so what happened way back in 2018, I mean, we have been struggling with this for 6 years and have been silenced for 6 years. But back in 2018, this DCS attorney named Tracy Hetzel, who had been trying to get my client's kids for years, and she hadn't been able to get them. And then I got in Wendy's case, and I was protecting her from DCS. So Tracy Hetzel came to the Brentwood Police Department and sat down with the district attorney, the captain of criminal investigations, David O'Neill, and the detective. Out of that meeting, where there were 4 people sitting in that meeting, 3 of those people were attorneys. And as they sat there in that very first meeting and decided to initiate a criminal investigation, they had to intentionally rewrite the law that's in the green books, the law that's written down in the statute. They had to rewrite it. They had to eliminate an essential element. And then they used this fake investigation to get a search warrant executed on all of my Facebook, all of my private messages. And the reason they did that is because Tracy Hetzel had gone to another court, had gone to juvenile court, and had gotten a gag order on me in juvenile court because we were talking on social media about what was occurring, and she wanted to get a search warrant so she could see if she could hammer me in another court for contempt of court. Well, she was not successful. But by the time I found out about this, I even wrote a letter to Brentwood Police, and I said to them, look, Tracy Hetzel is trying to use the criminal investigation to gain advantage in a civil matter. That's called extortion. That is called extortion in the state of Tennessee. And they sent me back a letter and said, "We follow the Constitution." And just blew me off. And then we went through the next 5 years. We went through indictments. We were arrested. We were put in police cars. We were handcuffed. We were chained to the wall. We were booked and fingerprinted and mugshotted. And Wendy had to make bond. I was ROR, but I was under bond conditions. And then I drafted a motion to dismiss the indictment, saying that it's not a proper indictment because it does not include an essential element of the crime. And Judge Joseph A. Woodruff decided he was going to rewrite the law.
Oh,
I kid you not. Judge Woodruff rewrote the law and allowed the district attorney to proceed. And then we
wow.
had, and I'm telling you, it is like living in a surreal world. I can understand how President Trump feels right now to have to go through these lawsuits where they are just fabricating the law. They're just bringing these witnesses in. I mean, in his case, he's got Stormy Daniel and Michael Cohen, who are like the
Right.
biggest clowns in the world. Well, I had the biggest clown, Tracy Hetzel, a DCS attorney, and Lori Russ, the detective, who got up on the stand and told this jury what a terrible person I was and how I was this big criminal. And I had to sit there and listen to it. And I have lived in this community for 22 years. I've lived in the same house for 22 years. I raised my children here. I was active in the political GOP here. I have developed relationships. At one point, I was involved in the chamber and some other activities. So this is my community.
That's your thank you.
Yeah, this is where I created a reputation.
Mhm.
And then they use that fake felony. They use that fake felony to go down to our General Assembly, excuse me, and tell all these members of the state legislature that I was a criminal. They also used it to shut down my campaign for judge. So
Oh,
they have been relentless. I finally got the complaint filed. We've got 2 attorneys involved in it. I worked real hard I could have filed it myself, and my client could have, just filed it pro se, but I had a couple good attorneys that I wanted to work on this with me. And so I, one of the attorneys I've known for a long time. He's very well respected. He's done several civil rights cases. I've worked with him personally on a couple cases, so we have a good working relationship. The other attorney on it is another attorney I've known very well for a long time. She knows me. Every time somebody says something bad about me, she stands up for me because I have probably, if not the most, I have a significant number of cases that I've taken to the Tennessee Court of Appeals. I've had cases in the Tennessee Supreme Court that I've actually won and rewritten law. I've had 6th Circuit cases. So they just ripped my whole reputation. They ripped my whole life away from me. They used this fake felony to suspend my law license in the middle of dozens of cases. And when I asked for a hearing, because it was a fake felony, now remember, this is the judicial branch. This is the judicial branch of government who suspended my license without a hearing on a fake crime. So when I put together my lawsuit, I went back and I read transcripts. I listened to the audios. I mean, it is pages and pages and pages and pages of detail. I mean, it is about how they manipulated it, how they coordinated and worked together, how they, intentionally embarrassed me, how they intentionally, and the local paper, did these big articles about judicial candidate is it's a felony. I mean, you would have thought I would have killed somebody the
Yeah,
way
you're a
they treat.
murderer, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like whoever reports
What and
whoever
what was
reports
their interest? What was their interest to do all of this to you? What would you say that they're? I mean, they obviously were gunning for you. I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about because I've been in a similar situation. But like, why were they gunning so hard for you? Because you were standing up for families. They didn't like this. That you were coming against a system that brings a bunch of money into their system and puts in their
exactly.
pockets. And they're like,
Exactly.
"Whoa, this woman's coming up behind us, and we need to do something."
Exactly. I mean, and remember, I have been on their tail really since they were created in 1995. I went back to law
Mm-hmm.
school late in life. It was a second career for me, but I
Mm-hmm.
started practicing in 1994, and I was almost immediately on the tail of DCS. And I have defended parents, and not just in my little county. I have been in half of the Tennessee counties. I have been and taken them to federal court. I've gone to legislators and talked about them. I've gone and taken families to the county commission to talk about how terrible the juvenile court judge was. They just needed to silence me. They needed to silence me. I've been talking about the money, about all the money that's involved, all the juvenile jail system, all the private
Mm-hmm.
contractors, and they had to shut me up. And
Right.
so now I get to tell that whole story. And this is the first time and the first place. Now, to be honest with you, there's a second lawsuit that's probably going to be filed. I'm not going to talk about it until we file it.
Right.
So, what we had the joy of doing over the past few days is serving these complaints.
It's awesome.
And so I had a private process server, and we went to court and served one of the district attorneys. We
Nice.
tracked down the DCS attorney. He went and served her. I posted him up on TikTok for anybody who follows my TikTok. And then
Yes.
we served the captain uh, of the criminal investigations, and he's a county commissioner. And so now I'm going to talk about them everywhere. I'm going to talk
That's good.
about them at the county commission. I'm going to go to the General Assembly and I'm going to tell them what these people who are state taxpayer paid people, some of them, the DAs and the DCS attorney, of what they do. Because a lot of these state legislators still, they don't like DCS. They've seen what I've done. They didn't think they would go this far, but they understand it. And now they can see just how far they would go and what they would do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this does a lot. I mean, not just for you, but a lot of the people that they've suppressed for a lot of different things through all of time. This is actually like a major thing. This is a major piece of evidence that people say. I mean, you know yourself how many times you're like, oh, well, they're after me and they're doing this. And they're like, come on, you're crazy. You're this, you're that. And you're like, no, they really are after me. And, people don't believe you. They don't. They look at you like you're a crackpot. They look at you like you're crazy. And now you're able to come out there with some evidence and say, look, and just like everybody else, like this, you're like leading the way for these people and what they're doing for gang stalking people, for like all of these things. Like this is it. This is the beginning of that, I would say.
Well, and here's the other story that's here. Here's a very important story. So many people say, my lawyer won't do anything. My
Right.
lawyer's not doing anything. They're not calling me back. They won't stand up for me. They won't present evidence. This is why they won't do it, is because
Right.
they are afraid of the retaliation. It has cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars what they have done to me. Hundreds
Hmm.
of thousands of dollars.
Of
They thought
course.
they could put me away. They wanted to incarcerate me for 30 days so they could poison me and kill me, because I have never had a crime in my life. I have never been to jail in my life. And here they wanted 30 days in jail and a 2-year probationary period. And the reason they wanted that, because they knew it would take 2 years to appeal it. And they knew if they could put me in jail for 30 days, they could poison me. They even,
Right.
listen how crazy it is. When we went for, after the sentencing hearing, the county attorney even filed a motion with the court that would allow the county to ship me out to another county that would be at least 45 minutes to an hour away. Now, why would they do that? Here's what they said. They said she's too dangerous to put in our jail.
You're too dangerous.
And here's what they used for too dangerous. They said that she has accused our sheriff of incarcerating children and putting them on psychotropic medications. She didn't have any evidence. Nobody testified. She had no proof. But what she was able to convince the judge was that when they decided to incarcerate me, they could ship me to another county. Why would they do that? They would do that because I would be separated at least by
Right.
an hour or maybe more from all of my family and friends
Yep.
again. So they could poison
Got
me
you.
and
Right.
silence
Yep.
me, and I wouldn't be able to call anybody to come and help me.
Right. They
So
couldn't monitor you if they weren't right there with you. Right. That's crazy. That's
exactly.
just that. Now, but let me ask you, how many people thought that you were lying about that? How many people thought that you were making that up or you were going too far? Did you get a lot of hate from that or backlash from all of these things? Well, you really couldn't talk about it though, could you? So
Well, I
kind of
really have not talked about it a lot. I've said it in a few. I've been in a few podcasts and you know, and I'm looking at some of the comments here. I appreciate that comment. They didn't realize who they messed with. Yeah, so the fire and the beast. Yep, it is true. But you know, I'm saying it out loud. You know, they're going to say, I'm sure they're going to. Now, I didn't put that in here. I
right.
did
Of
not
course.
put in here they were going to poison me, but I did put in here that they wanted to incarcerate me for 30 days. So,
Right.
you know, here we are. I am 72 years old this year. They
Right.
wanted to put a 70-year-old woman in jail who had never had a crime in her life on a fake crime that they made up.
Now, is they gonna? How is anybody looking? Are you looking at how does this work? Can you prosecute them for this fake crime that they've created and they, put you in jail? Like, is there penalties that they should be facing? Perjury, any of this stuff that you should be trying to, or do you not even touch that because of the situation that you're in already? I mean, they've
So,
created a fake crime and ruined your life. They should go to jail.
well, you know, so under U.S. Code 18 USC 242 is the criminal code for civil rights violations. So 42 USC 1983, or what's called a 1983 action, is the civil rights action where you sue for damages. 18 USC 242 is the criminal code for violating your constitutional rights. To be honest with you, I don't want to bring that lawsuit because here's what they would do. They would stop this lawsuit dead in its tracks and say,
Yeah.
we can't do anything until we have this criminal matter resolved. I want to
Okay.
depose them. I want to put them on video camera and ask them questions about, I want to know when they sat in that very first meeting where they had 4 people and 3 were lawyers. I want to know from that very first meeting how those 3 lawyers sat there and contrived how they were going to eliminate an essential element from the crime so that they could get their fake indictment. I
Right.
want to ask them those questions. I want to ask DCS why they don't want parents to have attorneys during the investigations, because that's what they did. They
Right.
didn't want me to they didn't want my client to have an attorney. Here's another little interesting fact as I was laying this out, because one of my complaints was that they had taken and created this petition and gone to another county and snuck into another county to get the ex parte order. Well, when I was preparing this, and I had seen it before, but it just didn't strike me. In those DCS records, there was a notation that said that Judge Cook, who was the correct judge, that
Yeah.
Judge Cook was biased in favor of the mother because he had been favorable to her in the past. So they had to do 2 things. They had to figure out how to get out of county so they didn't have to deal with that judge, so that they could pick their own judge. And then they had to figure out how to shut me down and silence me. And when they did go to another county, they lied to the judge that they went in front of and told him that the mother had not been cooperating, even though I had called DCS I'd called the supervisors. I'd left messages at the offices. I had called I'd called central office, regional offices, and told them, Miss Hancock has a lawyer. Will be happy to talk to you, but she has a lawyer. Not one person would call me back because they did not want her to have an attorney. And they even sat in the courtroom and said, we don't care if a parent has an attorney. That's not going to stop our investigation. This is how whacked out and how crazy they have become.
Right. This is just, I mean, I hate to like put it all on you, but like this is great because this is happening to so many, but like you're the first one. I mean, like you're the person that we needed in this movement to be like this happened to, because this, like, you were affected. You were going to be judge. You were running to be a judge, and they took that away from you. How many people, and then on top of that, they dismiss your charges. They say, well, never mind, we're done with this. We're forget
Exactly.
this. So how
Well,
much of
and
your life to be ruined? Like,
yeah. hmm And they even
so
set the case. Now remember, this allegedly happened in 2018. We didn't
yeah,
get arrested until 2019. And then, of course, we had the pandemic. But everybody knew in 2022 we would be having judicial elections. And I had run for office before. So as 2022 was approaching, what I was doing is there's a half a dozen attorneys in my community that I know and I trust. And I wanted every judicial office to be contested. I wanted everybody to have an opponent. And so I went around just individually, one-on-one, and ask these people, just say, would you run for judge? I'll help you. I really everybody needs to have an opponent in this election. And I had to start this about a year and a half prior to the election.
right,
So the gossip was already out there that Connie was going around talking to attorneys to challenge the district attorney, who I thought was absolutely incompetent, and to challenge all the judges, which there were 5 different judges that needed to be challenged. And so in the Wendy's case was in the summer of 2021, and that was right when I was in this discourse for attorneys to run for judge. And then my case came up. It was supposed to be set in September, and oh my gosh, I have to tell you this. So my client, Wendy, they found her guilty on this fake crime, and she was scared to death that she was going to go to jail. She was scared that they'd put her in jail and then take her daughter again. And
right,
now her daughter had a
right,
baby and take her daughter's baby. So she entered into an agreement with them that she would have probation, but she would have to cooperate with them to convict me. And she would have to make her daughter available for interrogation by the district attorney and force her daughter to testify against me. Now remember, I'm the attorney who got her out of foster care.
right,
I'm the attorney who saved her life, but they put so much pressure on that child for her to get up and testify against me that she had no other choice. It was pitiful. It was so
right,
pitiful. And so my trial was set the day before my trial on Sunday afternoon at 3:00. My attorney calls and says, your trial's going to be continued the day before. And they did that, number one, so that they could get Wendy and her daughter immediately into interrogation, and then they wanted to continue it so that they could set it in the middle of the coming election, which was several months later. They set my trial in the middle of the election. So they could have the local newspaper do an article, judicial candidate faces felony charges, judicial candidate convicted, judicial candidate, right? And then got her license suspended on the conviction. And there was one publication, when I did an interview with them, I told them, I said, this is a fake felony. And they said, can we print that? And I said, absolutely. And they're
right,
the one publication that was truthful about it. And now everybody can see it was fake. It was a totally fake crime. And this is how powerful they are. This is how perverted they are. This is how corrupt they are.
Mhm. How, okay, saying this, how did they do it? Like, what did they do to get this done? Like, what was some of the moves, some of the things that you're like, wow, like you sit here and you're like, you're beside yourself. What are some of the things that you just were like beside yourself that they did to implicate you in this fake felony?
Okay. This right here document, let that come into focus.
Yeah.
Okay, this right here is called an indictment. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the document that is prepared by the district attorney. The district attorney writes all this out, and then it's handed to the grand jury foreman, and then the district attorney, sends in a witness, a detective, or whatever. So this section right here that the district attorney wrote, she left out an essential element of the crime. And this was about custodial interference. And this was over an ex parte order, which I was challenging anyway. And the custodial interference did not even apply to that situation. It said that it had to do with visitation orders, and that if a child wasn't returned at the end of a visitation, it could be custodial interference, which I think it's a terrible law anyway. We could get into that,
Right.
but she took out all the language related to visitation. She just eliminated it. She just took it out of there. And so all it says is that as a child is detained in violation of a court order. And when I saw this, the very first time, which was a few days after we were arrested, because you don't get a copy of this when you
Right.
get arrested. You don't
Right.
even know. All they tell you is what the crime is. They don't show you the indictment. And so
Right.
when I got a copy of this a few days later, I laughed at it. I said, this is ridiculous. This is going to get dismissed. I called my client. I called Wendy, and I told her, I'm like, this is going to get dismissed. They did not even write the law. I mean, this law is law that is written in a law book. All you have to do is turn to that page and
Right, and
copy
it's
what's
there.
in the law book.
Right.
And they didn't do it. And so I prepared the motions to dismiss the indictment, gave it to her attorney, gave it to my attorney. They put it in front of the judge, and this crooked judge said, oh no, I think I'm going to let the state proceed. I'm just going to rewrite the jury instructions. And so he wrote the jury instructions, eliminating an essential element of the crime. And Wendy's case was overturned first back May 12th of last year. And when it was overturned, the Court of Criminal Appeals said the judge lowered the state's burden of proof. They should have used stronger language, actually. They should have said the judge corrupted the case is what they should have said, because that's the truth. But instead, they said, oh, he lowered the state's burden of proof. And they should have said there was no crime. You can't leave out an essential element and then even have a crime. There's plenty of case law that says that.
Right.
So, but they did reverse it, and that's how she did it.
Wow. That's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. But I mean, this is just, it's just, now moving forward, what do you do to fix your reputation for what they've done? Or do you not care about the people that look at you and you say, screw you guys, I've already told you that this was junk, and you want to think the way you want to think about me, that's fine? Or do you go back to work and try to work to get back into your old life? Like, what do you do from here?
Well, they're not going to let me walk back in a courtroom. I can just tell you, they have already filed another petition claiming that I'm a substantial threat of harm to the public because I made a Facebook post about a judge, what a judge said, and about a disciplinary attorney. They do not want attorneys to speak out. They do not want attorneys to describe what is going on. And all attorneys are afraid to do it. All afraid. They're all afraid. And this is why. And you know what? And think about it. Attorneys get it more than anybody else. And how many times have I had people come to me because their other attorney wouldn't take it any further? I mean, I already had the reputation. Attorneys would send people to me. They would say, go to Connie. She's not afraid. She's not afraid of these people. And they would say, here's the words they would say. They would say, I can't say anything because I have to work with these people. That's what they would say. And so attorneys, this is, and I'm not everybody in the state knows me, but I mean, I was all over the state. I had lots of appeals. I, had done some CLEs, and so I was very, very active in the state, and
Right.
people over Facebook were calling me to come and represent them in all parts of the state of Tennessee. But they had to silence me, and they had to make a point, which is they had to make the point that attorneys cannot speak out or they will be silenced and shut down.
Wow. That's so, it's just, but whatever. You can do it now all you want. Like you can speak out and lead people to the truth. I mean, that's just it. So if you even went back there, you'd be against what you've become now. I mean, maybe like one of those comments said, maybe the courtroom's not where you were supposed to be. Maybe you were supposed to be where you are now. Like, God has a weird way of working.
Well,
So I mean,
yeah. And I will tell you that so the Family Forward Project on Facebook, we started in about 2014 or 15, going to DC, connecting with people, drawing people in from all over the country, many trips to DC. We really have kind of a core group now that goes to DC, and we've got a law we're trying to get passed. And, there were a few years ago, I says, I can't change this system one case at a time, and I work
right.
really, really hard on the cases, and I won most of the time, but I mean, it is exhausting, and it's only one
Yeah,
case, and it doesn't change anything. So I had said, I can't do it one case at a time. So I just have to redesign my life. I don't know everything it's going to look like, but I am writing. I am doing some publishing. I am going to start exposing the finances behind it. I have a lot of information. I have a lot of people who are feeding me information right now
right,
through different social media channels and stuff, to check some leads on who is involved with the money and the finances. I still have people calling me all the time. I mean, if I had my license, I would be working every day because
right. I'm sure.
constantly people are calling me, but they're not going to let me do that. So I have to do it from another angle, and I have to help people from another way. So I don't know exactly what it's looking like. It's starting to develop. I have done
Right,
some consulting work with people and try to just help them get their case organized and make sure they, if attorneys are not going to put their case together and not going to put their evidence together, that's something they can do with me without me, quote unquote, practicing law.
right. No, that's. I mean, you will be able to help thousands. The way that you're playing it now, where like you said, it was one on one. And let's talk about that just for a minute about this part. Like we were talking about the funding thing. We've been trying to push the envelope here with the whole, Title IV funding says reunification, reunification, reunification. But we know that reunification isn't their goal. So we're trying to find a way to get people to start, putting letters in. We have a letter here that I wrote, requesting that they go, someone, whoever, I have people send it to your lawmakers, send it to the police departments, anybody that will start an investigation on them on the Title IV fraud. Because I mean that's the big funnel of their money. I mean, obviously there's other ways that they get it, but that big piece right there. I mean, if we could get that crushed or put away, or people to pay attention to it, we could really put a hurting on them. And everywhere through Title IV it says reunify, reunify. Don't take the kids out of the homes, and they're doing just the opposite. So what can we do to help people, or the right people, get to that, to investigate that, so that we can get
Okay,
these things?
so all right, so let me let you in on another little secret.
Yes,
CAPTA Title 4E has expired. It's
right.
expired. It's no
Okay.
longer valid. It's no longer valid. So every
So that,
single dollar that is being divvied out now under
yep.
Title 4E is unauthorized. It's done.
Ooh, okay.
And we went to Washington, D.C. last summer twice, and it expired September the 30th, 2023. And we sat down in the legislative offices, and we said, CAPTA is expiring on September 30th. And they just looked at us and they said, we fund a lot of things that are expired. So
Wow.
honestly, this is a false claims act. This is a huge false claims act. For every state that is requesting Title 4E after the expiration, after the date of September 30th, 2023, it is a false claim. Now, who's got the kahunas to stand up and put that kind of case together? Because it would be a very large case and people would
Mhm.
have to make false claims. They would, because under, it's basically what's called a key tam action, where you would bring a false claims action. But to do a false claim action, you first have to file the person who's affected has to file a false claim complaint with the, I think it's with the DOJ. And it's a
Okay.
form they do online to submit a false claim. And if the DOJ does not pick it up, then a civil action can be filed for False Claims Act, and there is a recovery. So it would be a huge undertaking. I have thought about it,
Right.
honestly, and I needed to get this under
Right.
control first.
Right.
So this
But
is
that leaves the way. But that in itself, your case, if you can get that through and out of the way, I mean, that in a sense will help towards what we're talking about now, because you can say, look, they lie, they do these things, right? Like, wouldn't that be a part of that? Like, you can use those things as evidence towards why you're saying it's fraud and what they do and all of those things.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But also the other thing is people, I have done this for Tennessee. I haven't been able to do it for every state, but people need to get in and look at the ASFA money, the Adoption and Safe Families money, because that bonus money that is going to the states has now exploded. And the entitlement money that's going to these adoptive parents has exploded. For instance, in Tennessee, I tracked the adoption entitlement money from about 2010 forward. And in about 2012, there was an explosion of these funds. And we were looking at 2.2 million a month, 3 million a month, and all of a sudden it was 6 million a month. And now it is over 10 million a month. And that is the money, I call it the secret welfare program. And most of
Okay.
our General Assembly members don't even know about it. But that is the money that is being paid after the adoption is complete. And it's a complete welfare program to the adoptive parents, and then the bonus money as well. So we need to start showing out and educating people on this money, of how the children are being monetized throughout this entire system, and how it is also stripping them of all their family connections.
And that money is coming from the ASPA program itself, or is there other little trickles that come into that are funding it?
Well, most of that is ASFA. That's the Adoption and
Okay.
Safe Families Act money, and it has two
Right.
prongs. One is the entitlement money, and then the second is the bonus money.
Look into that. So, I mean, that's so this is the way now that they're collecting these monies. And then furthermore, if states are requiring, because I know the state of Maine has requested, I've seen the report. So that's fraud. That's fraud that they're asking for these. Is it fraud that they're asking for the funds, or is it fraud that they're being given the funds? Like, which way does that go?
Okay, so false claim is exactly what you think of a false claim. For instance, one of the biggest categories of false claims is under the Medicare and Medicaid. Okay,
Yep.
so, a very good example is you had all these doctors who were pain specialists, and they made all these false claims under Medicaid for pain medication and services, etc. Huge false claims were occurring under Medicaid. Or it can also be anything. It can be like an environmental thing, right?
Right.
But when the state makes a claim and there is no authorization for the program, it is a false
False
claim, and
claim.
it's under
Okay,
the
gotcha.
False Claims Act.
Gotcha. Hey, you're coming up on your Washington trip, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. So, Family Forward Project is coming up again. We're going in May. We went in, oh my gosh, when did we go? January, I think. I think it was really cold. We went last year in April, July, and September. We do have a bill that's been drafted for a family advocate, and we have a sponsor, and we have to get co-sponsors. Now, it's very hard in Congress, even though this is a bipartisan issue, and it has come up now. The whole issue with foster care has come up in the Senate. Senator, anybody from Georgia, your John Ossoff in Georgia has done a great job bringing foster care to the forefront. His he's a Democrat. His Republican counterpart is Senator Marsha Blackburn, who's my senator here in Tennessee. I've not had her be really responsive in the past, even though every time we go up there, I go to her breakfast, and she knows I'm there for foster care reform. So, and we're really working on Congress. We've gone up there at times and we've worked both Senate and Congress, and it nearly kills us because if you understand the way it's laid out, the Capitol is in the middle, and then you have the Senate buildings on one side and you have the House buildings on the other side. And the House buildings are massive. They're huge. And so we were running, and if you're hiking it really, really fast, it still takes almost 18 minutes or 20 minutes to get across the lawn. And so we were going back and forth, and we nearly killed ourselves. So on the last trip,
Connie.
yeah, we
cell
need,
phones actually even.
yeah, well, I wear flats, so I'm ready to go. But some of our people think they still have to wear heels, so it's a little bit harder.
Oh yes, I imagine. So what is it
But
that you guys do when you go? Yeah, what do you do when you go there? What do you
so
explain
over
like
the
day?
Yeah, so over the years, we have done several things. I mean, we really started with the Million Parent March way back, and I think the first one was in 2015. And the very first one, we had a pretty good turnout. That is where I met most of the people. I met Jennifer Wynn in Kansas, who's become a very good friend of mine. I met Maureen in Connecticut and Lisa in Connecticut. And I started really connecting with these people, Sarah in North Carolina. And so we really just kind of started watching each other, helping each other. Everybody kind of had their own thing going on social media. But we decided and Kathleen out of Washington. So we just decided we were just going to keep pushing forward. And so after a couple visits, though, we really found out that we needed to focus more. Rallies are not good enough. A rally, a protest is not good enough. So we started going individually into the offices and sitting down and having these meetings with legislative aides. And we have our meetings where we always take a victim so they can tell their story of what's happened to their family. We have about a 30-minute presentation, and we ask them. Right now, we finally narrowed it down to asking for an advocate. First we asked just to kill CAPTA, which is huge, which actually ultimately they have done that. We helped get the Family First Act passed, which was a good idea, but it really hasn't done as much as it should. So now we're working on the Family Advocate bill. So we have a sponsor. So we are going to be going and asking for people to sponsor it. And so I mean, we're still working on Congress. We'll probably have a couple visits over in the Senate. We always try to make sure we have people from Washington, Florida, Connecticut, Tennessee, sometimes Illinois, Missouri, Alabama. So we have a good almost a dozen states represented when we go up there. So we try to make sure we talk to our representatives for our states. And then we look at the committees. We look at a committee that it might be in. Sometimes we have found a couple legislative aides who have a bigger interest in it. So we go and we sit down and we talk to them and we ask for help. And we tell them, and here's my story. Here's what I say every time I go to Washington, D.C. I say, look, it's terrible out there. I said, and we can do a whole lot out there in the world than you can do here in Washington, D.C. You just got to give us a chance to help. I'm also involved in, I know we've got some of my social media down there. I'm also involved with LinkedIn. And the thing with LinkedIn is there are now a lot of different different kinds of professionals who are seeing the problem. There are social workers, there are psychologists, there are criminal justice people. There are very few attorneys who are speaking up, but a few attorneys are beginning, at least they're watching. Even though the attorneys are not speaking up, there's a lot of attorneys who are watching what's going on. And there's a lot of attorneys across the country who are watching what's happened to me.
Right. That's it. And what can people do that are watching us right now to help you push your bill? Like, what can they do? Do you have any homework, if you will?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yes, everybody in every state. We have the bill. It's a very simple bill. It's like 2 or 3 pages. We also have what's called a one sheet that says why we need it. Anybody who wants to help, I would say there's 2 ways to reach out to me. One is through Facebook Messenger. I check my Facebook Messenger all the time because we use that for Family Forward Project. And the other thing is I use the email connie.familyforward@gmail.com. So if you want to help just to reach your legislator and just you can just tell them, we just need this. We want you to help. We want you to sponsor it. And then you can connect them to one of us you can just get them through that phase. And I'll tell you, like, for instance, Kentucky. Okay, so Rand Paul, Rand Paul will not even talk to us because we don't have somebody with Kentucky with us. We can sit down and talk to most other senators just because we tell them we are a national organization, but Rand Paul will not even have a word with us. And so we really need Kentucky to stand up.
Kentucky, yes.
Yeah, we need Kentucky to stand up and contact Rand Paul's office.
Wow, that's so anybody from Kentucky out there that's watching, do that. It's Connie. It's Connie.familyforwardproject@gmail.com.
No, Connie.familyforward@gmail.com.
At email. All right, I lost it there. That's crazy. So Kentucky's. What else is going on? What else do you need help with right now? Anything else?
Well,
you can think
yeah.
of?
So the other thing is that anybody who's involved in these cases, I know there are several different groups and organizations. I also just post some stuff on TikTok just because there's so much. Oh, I'll tell you, I did a video of serving the district attorney with a complaint. And I posted it on TikTok. It has over 500,000 views on TikTok.
I'm gonna see if I can pull that up. Hold on a minute. I would love to. I went to do that earlier, and then you got talking about something else, and I didn't look for it. So yeah, let me see if I can get this. And then while we're waiting for it, Melissa or Herb, you guys have any questions for Connie while I'm pulling this up?
I think actually my question would go back to, the false claims. If we knew an attorney, I would say here in Southern Alabama, who is gung-ho enough to go after something like that, could I have him contact you?
Sure. So, yes. So, and a key 10 action is actually a very interesting action because once the false claim is filed with the DOJ, if the DOJ does not pick it up, then an attorney can bring the case, and then attorney gets part of whatever the money was that was wrongfully taken. However, we would need several of these cases. So we would need a cluster so that we could then somehow turn it into a class action to show that it is a basically an ongoing criminal activity of the false claim that's being brought.
Well, I do have an attorney that would be willing to pursue something like that. I mean, just to try to get my case out of the local court. He's filed in the U.S. court arguing conspiracy between the GAL, the judge, and the department. He's not suing the judge because obviously that's an impossible feat. But he is going after the GAL and quite a few out of the department, along with the 1983 claims. But me and him have been discussing, I guess you could say the misuse or abuse of the funding system. Because even if the funds weren't expired, like my case wouldn't even be eligible for funding because there's been no permanency established ever, let alone in the last 6 months, as the rules say. And I know quite a few people that their kids have been stuck in limbo in this state for 3 to 5 years with no permanency. The family wasn't disqualified. They just do a review case every now and then. And I know one kid that's been in there 6 years. The mom is fit and proper, but they don't want to return the kid because they don't want to give up the money.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I do know someone who he says the one job he loves most in the world is litigating, and how dare they screw with people's rights. So,
well,
that's why I just say, if he's willing to listen, could you speak to him about it?
Yeah, sure. And I'll also say this, if he's never done a 1983 action before,
he's done lots of them.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, he's won the last 5.
Okay, good.
He's got a pretty good reputation.
Which one is it, Connie, that I'm looking at on your TikTok?
Okay, hold on. Yeah. Are you on my page?
Yeah, I'm on your videos section.
Okay, go to the video and hang on here. Let me get over here. Let me these pop up here a second. Hang on, my Wi-Fi's slow here today.
Oh, you have some good stuff on here.
Okay, so do you see the one that says 573.3 thousand views?
I see the one that says 457,000.
That may be the same one. Has it got the blonde in it?
It's got little kids dancing or something. It says credits to CBS.
Oh no. No, it's on from the top, it's on the 3rd row here.
Oh, okay, the 3rd.
This one right here. See, that's where my finger's pointing.
Oh, what you at the thing? Wow, okay. I don't have that. Hold on, let me go back and look here. Different.
And then the one where I serve the DCS attorney has 54,000 views.
4,000. All right, I'm looking. I wonder if they're just in a different one. 1230, 28,000.
Are you on my profile?
Yeah, I'm on you. I'm definitely on you. Because the first one is defund CPS. Then it goes to the one that you have 457,000. I can show you what I'm on right now. Actually, let me show you. I'll show you exactly what I'm looking at, and then you can help me.
Okay.
Because I think people should definitely see this stuff. There we go. Okay. So yeah, that's where I'm at right here.
Okay, yours looks different than mine. Are you on my profile, or did you just search my name?
I searched. Well, it's what I come up with my me and you are together type deal. Or is it on the Family Forward project maybe? Or
No,
is that what?
Click on my name though. That should take that will go to instead of just searching for me. Okay, there you go. Yeah.
All right, so we want the.
All right, there should be one that says 573,000.
Yeah.
Okay, then there's another one that says 54. 50,000.
It's been served.
Right here. So there's that. Then the 54,000. Oh yeah, right here. Oh, look at the face. Oh, that's great. That's good stuff.
I had to pick that
That is
song.
good.
Crying
Yeah,
eyes.
right. That's good stuff.
I
Oh
had
man.
that's my rubbing it in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do something, right? I mean, all the pain and agony and despair and everything that they've caused you over. How long has it been? 5 years? Did you been 6 years you've been dealing with this?
6 years.
You know,
And you know, the way they acted, and I'm going to pull the audios of the courtroom. When you hear the way they talk, the detective was asked the question during my sentencing hearing why she did a search warrant on my Facebook Messenger and my Facebook social media. And she literally said on the witness stand that the reason she did that was because I said bad things about her. That's why she got a search warrant on me.
wow. That's crazy. That's for another episode right there.
Yeah, and then the judge said, one of the reasons the judge gave me 30 days is because I had no remorse. Now, if I had no remorse, it's because it was not a crime, okay? How can I be
Yeah, I was about to say that. How can you have remorse for the crime you didn't commit?
Something fake,
It was
right?
not a crime. Yeah, she did get butthurt, Char.
Yeah.
You know, and I hope she has a good time this weekend reading it. Okay?
Yes. That's
I hope
awesome.
she
I'd love to be a fly on her wall.
Yeah, so let me tell you what happens next.
Yes.
So the next thing that happens in a civil rights case is they always try to dismiss it on immunity. And so I spent a lot of time on this complaint trying to make sure that I had the immunity issues addressed up front. And I even talk about it in here. For instance, and this is kind of a technical thing, but anybody who's interested in civil rights litigation, this is important. So the DCS attorney who initiated this whole entire malicious prosecution case against me, here is the point with her. To have immunity, she has to be performing a discretionary function of her job. It is not her job to go around and prosecute attorneys for representing clients. So I'm pretty sure that she will have no immunity. She will not be able to escape immunity.
Nice.
The tricky ones will be the district attorneys, because district attorneys have absolute immunity when they are performing prosecutorial functions. But here is where I had got them. Number one, like I just showed you the indictment and how she changed the language in the indictment. I am saying in the complaint that that was not a prosecutorial function. That was an administrative function. That when she sat down and she typed out the indictment to hand the grand jury, she intentionally reworded the language. So I'm saying, number one, that's administrative. The other thing is one of the district attorneys actually met with the police department and advised them during the investigation. The courts have found that that is not a prosecutorial function either. So I feel pretty strong that we're going to be able to nail the district attorney for her participating in the investigation and advising the police. And of course, it was all fake. And so there's plenty of law that says what a crime is and what they can indict. So then we also have the captain of criminal investigations, who is also a lawyer. And so he is the one under police policy. Listen, I even went and got all 753 pages of the Brentwood police policies and flipped through every page so I could find exactly what policy I needed to focus on to prosecute the the captain of criminal investigations, and I found it. The captain of criminal investigations has to approve the opening of the investigation and has to approve it for prosecution. So he is the one who is ultimately responsible for this fake crime getting out of the police department and getting over to the district attorney for prosecution. So that is the next step. They will file that pretty quickly. They'll file that in the next couple of weeks. And so I have already got a lot of the memorandums already pulled and all the case law pulled so that we can be able to address that immediately.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think, you know what, that would be a good show to talk about immunities and how to get around them and what they're looking for. And, you know, because that's becoming the next up and coming big question in all of this fight for CPS, you know, like how we're eliminating to get rid of the immunity. I think that would be a great show to have.
Yeah, well, you have to be very
this.
careful, because if I would have written this complaint and I would have just said that, you know, the prosecutors just created a fake crime, that would not be good enough. It would need to direct it to their investigatory and administrative functions. So I think we're going to be good on that.
That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, Connie, we've just filled up and then done some even after that. That was great. That's good stuff. I love Connie Fridays. Hey, Melissa, you got last words for tonight?
Like I always say, if you're a parent out there, don't quit fighting for your kids, because no one ever love them like you do.
All right. Connie, last words from you?
Well, everything's still happening. I just got another call this week of, you know, 2 little girls that I had actually saved out of the grips of CPS, you know, a year and a half ago, and they went back and took them again, and they did it, you know, with a bench order, meaning the parents don't even know what the allegations are. So, you know, it's still happening. It's worse than ever. These commissioners who are running these state agencies are out of control. The private contractors are out of control, and we must continue to fight.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Perfect. Herbert, how about you, my man?
Yes, Connie, I listened to your entire story from the beginning to the end. And by listening to you, I can say you are definitely being railroaded, number one. Number two, you really need to look at who your enemies are, and they may be very, very close to you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow what I'm saying? You hear what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay.
The very people that you feel, oh man, they're in your pocket, they're with you, may not be.
Well, I'm pretty, it's not just a matter of discernment, because I think we can be misled by discernment, but I'm very cautious and guarded. So I scope those things out pretty well.
Good for you.
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys very much for tonight. Connie, as always, thank you so much. Herbert, Melissa, thank you guys. We'll be all back next Monday, ready to go for Josie Monday. But until then, guys, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Connie. All right, guys. Good old Connie Reguli out there fighting again. She's off and running. She's got nothing holding her down now. It's freaking awesome. About time we get someone back that's got some balls to stand up with us. CPS don't do any. There we go. There it is. I'm the CPS Punisher. I'm out of here. Thank you very much, Connie. Don't forget to like and share this, guys. Have a good weekend.